Thank you very much, Mabel. Now coming to you once again from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's the big story with me, Simon Kasiate. The opposition political parties, presidents, civil society organizations, and some members of the clergy met yesterday to launch a campaign calling for free and fair elections in the 2016 general election and reforms in the current electoral commission they claim is not independent. Now let's not mince our words. The meeting also opened a debate on whether the opposition is willing to unite and root the 2016 general election. I'm sure we've had this before. Before 2011, we had a call for unity. What happened down the road? Will the same happen this time round, or have they matured and gone beyond their petty differences to launch a united front against what is termed as the hegemony of President Yoweri Museveni? Now, the campaign that brought together the opposition party bigwigs and members of the civil society saw the attendance of UPC's party president, Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, Forum for Democratic Change, Major General Mugisha Muntu, CP's president, John Ken Luchamuzi, Justice Forum's Asuman Basalirwa, DP's Norbert Mao, and the rest as the list goes on. Now, we're privileged this morning to have one of these party presidents joining us for the big story to answer to our questions. Remember, this meeting of yesterday put across 10 demands, not 1, not 2, not 16, but 10 demands, with a demand from government to ensure that the 2016 election is free and fair. And some of these demands include, and are not limited to, 1, a new fully independent electoral commission, a new voters register, removal of security and militia forces involved, no diversion of public funds, demarcation of electoral boundaries, freedom to organize and assemble, establish a new criteria of selecting presiding officers, ensuring integrity of the tally process, and finally, to establish a new process of adjudicating presidential election disputes on whether political parties could finally unite. Now, Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, good morning and welcome to the big story.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here. Congratulations on this freshly minted show.
I love the kind and very heartwarming remarks coming in from you.
And also it's a very well appointed locale, by the way.
Absolutely.
We could do with this for our morning review meetings.
Absolutely.
So, congratulations.
That's what makes NTV NTV. Now, Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, you've put across 2 years to the next election, 10 demands that you want from this government. But remember, we are coming from a situation where the last election was more than 2 years ago. What have you been doing after the last election for you to come now in the middle of the term to make these demands?
It's a very important development, a very important step that we took yesterday. It's a completely non-partisan initiative, and it brings together 3 major sectors of our society. Political parties, particularly opposition political parties, civil society organizations, and a select number of national leaders. These are the 3 sectors which have come together to put forward to the nation this basket of demands. We are saying nobody is more interested in elections than the people of Uganda, much more than those who are caucusing today in Chankwanzi. But the people of Uganda want elections which are meaningful, which are genuine, which are truly free and fair. And we have said to the people of Uganda, this is what free and fair elections look like. So the 10 demands, the basket of demands, identifies the key issues that needs to be addressed in order for us to have genuinely free and fair elections.
Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, these 10 demands you're making are not a first. We've seen these demands being made before by yourselves, number one, but also by other interested groups in Uganda's political dispensation. I recall very vividly after the 2011 election, the Electoral Observation Mission from the European Union issued a report that contained findings and recommendations. And many of the recommendations are exactly in tandem with these 10 demands that you're making. And this has been 2.5 years down the road. The government has possibly not listened. Do you think this time round it's going to listen to you?
Well, in 2010, before the 2011 elections, we had come together, a group of opposition political parties, under an umbrella we call the Inter-Party Cooperation, IPC.
Very good.
We made a common stand on similar issues. and there was strong support within the country as well as internationally.
Very good.
There was a tragic error, a last-minute U-turn. We did not stand firm on the position we had taken. It was a tragic error. Let me just finish. It was a tragic error for which the parties and the country have paid a very high price. My hope, our determination, is that on this occasion we shall stand firm on our demands and not budge, not relent, and have no U-turn.
Apart from your faith and overt optimism, what else can you hold on to give you that hope that indeed you will not make a U-turn like you did before?
I can say this. I have been involved in this process 2010, 2011. After the elections, we had a process, and the one which has led to this. I can tell you this. But I've been very impressed.
Ambassador
I'm answering your question.
Yeah, before you can go ahead with your homily.
All right.
Tell me, doesn't it bother you that people tend not to believe exactly what you say as gospel truth? Now you're almost turning into some kind of political flip-flop, that you preach one thing and do the other. You came in here and coalesced all your political groups together in 2011. You know what happened. The viewers exactly know what happened. How can they hold you to your word this time around? And very specifically you.
No, actually, I've just said that a tragic error was made by political leaders in 2010.
Are you one of those political leaders?
No, actually, I stood firm on what we had commonly agreed to.
And then what happened?
Well, we had to act as a group, and most members of the group changed their minds on the common position we had. I do not deny that that happened. I'm saying that on this occasion, I hope, and there are reasons to believe, that we shall remain steadfast, we shall remain firm. We should not hide mistakes we have made. We should learn from those mistakes, especially very tragic mistakes. I am impressed in this process by the level of seriousness of the political parties.
What shows the level of seriousness?
By the determination.
Well, is it the face, the look on people's faces?
No. If you let me answer, this shows the level of seriousness.
Just a piece of paper?
We are a very diverse group. It took time to work on this. We've been able to agree on this together, not just the political parties, but civil society organizations and other national leaders.
And we have gone fully independent electoral commission.
Yes.
What exactly are the workings and the makings of this? Or how can this be put in place? Remember, the electoral commission is picked up from the rest of us in the society. So how are you suggesting that the government finds a new independent electoral commission? Let's not mince our words, that electoral commissioners are elected through the following process. That the president suggests names, passes them through the Ugandan parliament, which ferociously and viciously vets them, and then hands them over to us as electoral commissioners. How different will this process get to get the kind of electoral commission you're asking for?
That is part of the problem. That what you're describing is exactly what we need to end. What we have...
And start what?
May I just finish, please? We have two documents here. One is the testament. It is the manifesto. It is the call for free and fair elections now. This is where the people of Uganda stand on the issue of free and fair elections. And then, in answer to your question,
very good,
with regard to each of the 10 demands we have made, it is fair for you to say on the Electoral Commission, what exactly do you propose? On the register of voters, what measures do you want to be taken, and so on.
Let's break it down for our viewers.
We have therefore brought out a companion document called Proposals for a New Electoral Management System, in which we take each of the demands and make very specific proposals to cure the ills which have bedeviled elections up till now. Very specific proposals.
Now let's get down to a new, fully independent electoral commission.
That's right.
How?
The way we go about it is this. The current electoral commission is part of the NRM rigging machine. It is not independent. It is not impartial. Thus, we need a completely new electoral commission. We have proposed here that we should have a national forum which we call a national consultation, representative body that brings together various sectors of Ugandan society. That national consultation
Various
will
sectors
put in
of the
place...
Ugandan society. What are you talking about? Journalists, doctors, ambassadors, farmers, carpenters. Who exactly are you talking
if
about?
you just allow me, we are talking about political parties, we are talking about civil society, we are talking about professional associations, trade unions, and so on, business community, representing the Ugandan society as a whole. That national consultation will then select an independent panel of Ugandans to serve as an independent electoral commission. That is what we are proposing in very specific terms.
Dr. Olara-Otunnu, you are sounding very utopian and possibly
you
many
asked
Ugandans
me,
do not believe.
You asked me to be specific.
Exactly.
I'm now being specific and you're saying I'm being utopian.
It sounds too unfeasible.
Why? Why is it unfeasible? It's been done in other countries. It's been done in Kenya. It's been done in Ghana. It's been done in Sierra Leone, where I presided over the Commonwealth Electoral Observer
Why
team.
has it not been able to be done in Uganda?
Precisely.
Because you have political party groups that can never agree on a single position and act unanimously like you
that
did
has
in
nothing to do
2010.
with an independent electoral commission. I'm sorry to say. Nothing to do at all. The reason why we need these measures, let me just summarize it for you. The reason why we need these measures is not because the laws in the books are bad. It's not because we lack institutions and processes. It's because we have one particular phenomenon in Uganda. It is wholesale entrenched impunity. Which means, let me just finish, please. That one telephone call from State House makes good laws dead letter. One telephone call from State House makes institutions and processes complicit in the rigging of elections. That's why these measures. That's why these measures.
No matter who is in State House, but a phone call from State House will still have the same result, even if it were ambassador.
No, it is not true.
But let's get down to ensuring integrity of the tallying process. For example, we know our tallying process here. That you elect at a polling station A, Olara-Otunnu and all the people at the polling station, the results are counted there in full view of the voters that are there. It is communicated in full view of everyone, sent down to the next level until it gets down to the National Tallying Center in Nambole. How more transparent are you suggesting this process can get?
We need to have a very clear process of ensuring the integrity, the security of the ballots from the polling station to the tallying centers, all the way to the national headquarters where the results are announced. We are very specific about this. Other things which are very important in our proposal is the role of the military. We want no role for the military and militia in the electoral process. So we make specific proposals. Another thing very important for us is the way in which Museveni has been able to raid the central bank, ministries, international development accounts, to raid and get public funds to pour into the NRM campaign. We need a system to monitor and to restrict that.
And what system is that?
But we are very specific about this.
But the people watching us on the TV are not reading your document, Ambassador Olara-Otunnu.
But you need to read the document yourself, and you need to tell them. I'm just telling you
now.
I'm telling you right now. You give me time to tell you this.
I invited you here to tell Ugandans in very specific terms.
I'm being very specific.
Tell them the problems they already know. Tell them the solution.
I'm being very specific. If you take the raid on public funds, we need a mechanism that can monitor the flow of public funds from the budgetary process to the dispensation. We need to monitor the way in which supplementary budgets are being abused today. We need to monitor appropriation. Can I just finish?
Are passed by the parliament.
You want me to be specific. You want me to be specific.
Yeah, but you don't have all day, Dr. Olara-Otunnu here.
You asked me to be specific. You say you don't have all day. I try to be. What do you want me to do?
Now listen to this, Dr. Olara-Otunnu. These demands that you are making were made before. You said before 2010 you made these demands. The European Union's report, the findings and recommendations made the same. And I remember very vividly, I was in that meeting when they walked into your office, these members of the European Union Observer Mission, and you look them in the face and say, for as long as your document does not say this election was not free and fair, there is nothing tangible that your document is going to present to the Ugandan electoral populace. Now, you are saying exactly the same things that report was saying. Don't you think you have lost time? Doesn't it bother you that you've lost time? That had you taken action then when the European Union Observer Mission visited you in 2011 in June, by now in 2014 January, you would have made some tangible steps towards achieving this?
Actually, the European Union report on the elections of 2011 was not the most straightforward, but I won't go into that.
Let me also declare my conflict of interest that by then I worked for the European Union.
Very well. Okay, I'm glad that you owned up to that.
And I understand that it was more straightforward than it should have been.
Very well. Can I just answer your question, though?
Please.
Can I answer your question? That is why this basket of demands has to be owned by the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda have to say enough is enough. We cannot accept this impunity. We, like any other persons around the globe, deserve truly free and fair elections. Therefore, we shall stand firm on this demand. It is not just for the political party. It is not just for civil society. This is about the people of Uganda as a whole. It's about the fate of our country as a whole.
Now, Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, supposing government does not listen to these demands?
So we have said that is why we have provided a sunset clause. We don't want this process to be interminable. We don't want the government to string us on and then to say it is too late to do anything, game up. So we have provided for the end of April to see if there is serious commitment to have a new system in place, in which case we shall engage, or if there's no serious commitment, in which case we shall draw the necessary conclusions and then decide the way forward. So the sunset clause in these provisions, the 30th, the end of April this year. We have also provided, as I said, that these proposals should be taken to the national consultation where everybody is represented, including the regime and the NRM. And our hope is that we shall garner national consensus on a new system for organizing and managing elections in our country.
Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, for argument's sake, let's assume that end of April government has not made any tangible step towards your direction. What will you do? What would you propose that you do?
Well, if the government insists, the regime insists on the current wholesale impunity,
and I suspect it's going to be an issue of when and not if.
You know more than I do. We bring this forward in good faith. We bring this forward transparently, in all seriousness, but the burden is on the other side to respond. We have said we don't want to we don't want to be ahead of ourselves. We shall wait until the end of April. We see what response we get or do not get. Then we shall assess the situation and decide together how to move forward. We don't want to run ahead of ourselves. And the burden for responding belongs to Yoweri Museveni and the regime. We have put forward very specific demands.
Very good. Wonderful demands. Now, supposing the government says yes, do we see a united front, a united political dispensation on the opposition with one presidential candidate to tussle it out with President Museveni, who's been endorsed by his party caucus?
If the regime is serious about a new system, we shall engage. And we want to arrive at a new system through a national consensus. The issue of how we shall present the opposition in the event that we have truly free and fair elections, we shall determine that. We don't want to run ahead of ourselves. When we reach a particular bridge, we shall cross that bridge. I'm not.
The truth here.
No.
You have a presidential ambitions, don't you?
Actually, don't worry about that. That's not important. Worry about Ugandans having truly free and fair elections. Ugandans exercising the same right as other Africans, as the Latin Americans, as the Europeans. Worry about that. Don't worry about Olara-Otunnu being president.
Why
That's
should
not important.
Because that is now the person that is going to steer this vehicle to the prosperity that we want.
We shall determine that when we reach that bridge, we shall cross it. We've thought about all this.
Well, there's a bridge that you have crossed, and I have been yearning for 4 years to ask you this question. You campaigned ferociously in 2010, got down to the election in 2011, and on polling day, you, Ambassador Olara-Otunnu, did not show up at the polling station. I've wanted personally to ask you this question. Why?
I did that deliberately and consciously for this very reason, that it became clear that the elections were a sham, which everybody recognized after the fact. I've been saying all along.
Why did you make a personal decision not to vote, and you didn't have to rally your supporters not to go
May I just finish, please?
You abandoned them in the middle of nowhere.
May I just finish, please? So, on the day of voting, I was left with my one vote to testify to the people of Uganda and the international community that this exercise was a sham, that the will of the people of Uganda will not be respected, the government emerging, the president emerging will not be based on the choice of the people of Uganda, and that is exactly what I did. I explained it. I will be the first. I'll wake up at 3 a.m. When we have truly free and fair election, I'll be the first in the queue to vote at 5 a.m. But if we do not have free and fair elections, you count me out.
You can be very sure
yes.
at the next polling station 2016, Dr. Olara-Otunnu will possibly not be at that polling station, because clearly what you're making as demands here is a bit on the side of utopia.
Why?
Simply.
I cannot understand. You, a Ugandan, a full citizen of this country, can settle for such a low threshold? You do not want to have genuinely free election?
I didn't say that.
Free by the standards of the international community as a people of Kenya and Tanzania and South Africa.
There are people in Kenya who
Sierra
say the
Leone.
election was not free and fair. The question now is, this free and fair election description of an election has become like beauty. It's all in the hands of the beholder. You, Olara-Otunnu, have got your own yardstick, and it's identically universal.
These are not my yardstick. They're exactly universal. Everything we put here are part of universal standards of what constitute free and fair elections. They are not in the eye of the beholder. Uganda cannot continue to be an exception. The Museveni regime cannot continue to be an exception. We should apply the same standards that we apply elsewhere here. These are not mine.
Let's get down to your own backyard, Olara-Otunnu.
Can I just finish? These standards we have put here, they are the same standards applied anywhere else. They exist in the standards of the Commonwealth, the United Nations, the EC, everywhere the same standards are being applied. They should be applied here in Uganda.
Sounds very good. Now let's get to the standards of political party management. You are a president of the Uganda People's Congress, and there is a lot of cry that comes in from the Uganda People's Congress that you are not managing them according to the tenets of how political parties across the board are managed. That there is a case of trying to muzzle up you, a little Museveni in the UPC. How would you respond to such allegations? We've seen members, stalwart members of your party defecting to all places, the NRM. Why doesn't it bother you?
I like to speak in specifics and in concrete terms, not in generalities, unlike you. Unlike you, yes, unlike you. So let me be very specific.
I have been the same guy asking you to be very specific.
Let me be very specific.
1 minute, please.
Yes. We welcome free discussion and debate within the UPC, but it must be done within our processes, within our constitution. And we draw a line when somebody says they are UPC. You yourself said it. When in fact they're NRM, when in fact they're working for Yoweri Museveni, as you just said right now, we draw a line right there. As long as they're UPC, working to strengthen the party and to free Uganda, we don't mind what views they express. We shall work together with them. But when they are wearing UPC colors, when they're serving Museveni's project, we say no. Absolutely no.
How Dr. Olara-Otunnu, how Ambassador Olara-Otunnu gets to know who is NRM within UPC?
I can tell you right now.
Is a very interesting issue and will be topic for discussion another day when I have the privilege.
Very well, I'm happy to do that. I'm very happy to do that.
That said, let's take a very short break, and when we return, I give you my view upon all this discussion with a big story this morning.